Dear children, in our last video, we had discussed about freedom, Renaissance, Enlightenment movement, and beginning of different revolutions, and American War of Independence, an introduction to American War of Independence. And in the last part of that video, I had told you about 13 colonies in North America established by Britain. There is a map that is given there in our textbook that is showing these 13 colonies. Britain exploited these colonies in several ways. It was the reason for the American War of Independence. Britain exploited these colonies in several ways. To exploit these colonies, they implemented several laws in North America in their colonies. They implemented several laws and policies. One of the important policy, it was mercantilism. Mercantilism means it was a policy of British to consider their colonies in North America as a center for collecting raw materials for their industries and as a market for selling their products. British considered North American colonies as a center for collecting raw materials for their industries and as a market for selling their products. This policy, implemented by British merchants with the help of their motherland, it was called as mercantilism. As a part of this mercantilism, several laws were implemented in colonies. That laws were called as mercantilist laws. Mercantilist laws that are given there in our textbook. You please see that. The goods to and from the colonies must be carried only in British ships or ships built in British colonies. Products of the colonies like sugar, wool, cotton, tobacco, etc. could only be exported to England. British stamp must be affixed on all the legal documents, newspapers, pamphlets, license, etc. Colonies must provide food and quarters for the British troops which were maintained in the colonies. Import tax must be paid for the import of tea, glass, paper, etc. There were a protest from the people of America against the policies, against these laws, mercantilist laws. And at the same time, some thinkers, some Enlightenment thinkers like Thomas Paine and John Locke influenced them. Their ideologies influenced the people of North America. Their ideologies are also given there in our textbook. You please see that. John Locke. Everyone has some fundamental rights. No government has the right to suspend them. Everyone has some fundamental rights. No government has the right to suspend them. Thomas Paine. There is something absurd in supposing a continent like North America be perpetually governed by a foreign power like England. These were the ideologies, these were the words of John Locke and Thomas Paine. As a result of the protest from the people and as a result of the influence of the thinkers like Thomas Paine and John Locke, the people began to unite together and they elected some leaders, some delegates from all colonies. And the delegates of these colonies met a convention at Philadelphia in 1774. This convention of continental colonies was called as First Continental Congress. First Continental Congress. This First Continental Congress decided to submit a petition to the King of England. And in this petition they demanded that to withdraw all the laws passed by the Britain to exploit the people of colonies. And the second demand it was not to impose tax without the consent, without the approval of the people of colonies. But these demands were denied by the king. Petition was denied by the king and the king sent an army to colonies, America. And it caused for a war between Britain and the colonies. Britain and the colonies. And in the very next year, in 1775, the colonies met in another meeting. Delegates of colonies met in another meeting. It was called as Second Continental Congress. Second Continental Congress. This Second Continental Congress elected George Washington as its Commander-in-Chief of Continental Army. Commander-in-Chief of Continental Army. And Thomas Paine, we had told about Thomas Paine, an American thinker. He issued a pamphlet called Common Sense. Common Sense. It was the pamphlet that issued by Thomas Paine. And through this pamphlet, Thomas Paine declared that it is wise to Americans to stop, to break all the ties with Britain. And in the very next year, in 1776, Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson framed a declaration, that Declaration of Independence. Declaration of Independence was passed by America, and it was framed by Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. And an extract of this Declaration of Independence that is given there in our textbook. You please see that. This declaration says that everyone are equal. All are equal. Everyone has certain rights. It is the duty of the government to protect the rights of the people. People has the right to alter the government if they are not satisfying the people. This type of ideologies were there in the Declaration of Independence. Some progressive ideologies. And after this Declaration of Independence, the war strengthened between Britain and America, American colonies. And that war came to an end only in 1781. In 1781, war came to an end. And in 1783, according to Paris Peace Treaty, Britain accepted the independence of America. And according to it, 13 colonies became independent, and USA came into being in 1783. And a new constitution was framed for America under the leadership of James Madison. And according to this constitution, USA, United States of America, came into being, and George Washington became the first president of America. And this is called as American War of Independence. And from this, we can understand that the first Continental Congress, it was held in 1774, Second Continental Congress in 1775, and the Declaration of Independence in 1776. War came to an end in 1781, and Treaty of Paris in 1783, and the USA came into being in 1783. A new constitution came into being in 1783. George Washington was elected as the first president of America in 1783. These are the important incidents or the important years of American War of Independence. All these are about the American War of Independence, and we will discuss about French Revolution in another class. Now we are going to wind up. Namaskaram.